What's good, YouTube? Patch 7.1.5 official notes are out, and I was waiting for this for a while, so I paid attention obviously when the information kind of got released onto the internet about 7.1.5 and how they're going to have class changes, and I paid attention to kind of the idea they were going for with Feral, but I didn't make a video on it because I knew things would change. How much, I don't know, and that's what we're going to find out here. So I've only just quickly read through. We're checking out MMO Champion, and we'll also go to Wowhead to look at the Honor talent changes. But MMO Champion lays out the main changes really nicely, so we're going to look at that. Here's, you know, I'll try and remember to link in the description, but if you just type in MMO Champion, it'll be like the first post that pretty much comes up right now. So we'll start off, Brawlers Guild's back in, things like that, new micro holidays, profession changes, and now onto the changes to the classes. So I'm going to skip all the classes. All we're going to talk about, even though that I play Frost DK, you know, even Resto, Druid, things like that. But today is just Feral, okay? I can make more talking about the other classes if you follow the channel that I play, but I think most of you are just interested in the Feral. So scroll down until we see Druid. I think, here we go. Oh, we've gone way past. That's the PvP changes. Good start. Okay, back up, Paladin, Monk, Fire Mage, and Druid. So I was near the top, so whatever, but okay. So, generic changes at the top. Then we break it down into certain specs, Balance, Feral, Guardian, and Resto. A lot of actual Guardian changes are going to be interesting. Hopefully we don't have several tanks to choose from, like the Protection Paladins, if anyone's had to verse that yet. But anyway, Displacer Beast. Starting off, this is the first thing I read, and I did not like the sound of it. Displacer Beast for all specs. Increased duration now 2 seconds. It was 4. So that means when you hit Displacer, it'll boost you forwards like, what, 20 yards or whatever it is. And it did give a speed buff for 4 seconds, but now it's halved. Now that ability I really like to run when I play Resto Druid. Not so much Feral because I like to stay on them with Wild Charge. But in duels a lot, I find myself speccing into Displacer Beasts. Just to that getaway of when you're versing Windwalker Monks, Assassination Rogues, Ret Paladins, Frost DKs. The ones that just global everyone. I feel like we need a getaway. And that's been nerfed a little bit. So not a bad change, but just got to keep that in mind. Duel-wise, I feel like that's going to affect it. Mass Entanglement duration now, 30 seconds was 20. Obviously in PvP, it only lasts like 4, 5, 6 seconds, something like that. I don't use it very often. Will we get an extra second in there? Maybe, but it doesn't really state for PvP. Not that we're going to use it. I still think like Bash is just too good to not use. 5-second stun, and you can obviously do damage with the stun. And then Renewal. Cooldown reduced to 90 seconds. Now that is Renewal in the same tier as, I can't remember what it's in, but I know that like if that was a short enough cooldown, heals you instant for 30% maximum health in all forms. So against bursty comps, like that could be good, especially since they just chopped off 30 seconds. It might be interesting to be able to run that and literally have a save me button every minute 30, because all we really have to survive is our survival instincts, right? You use that up, then you're in trouble. You just try and bear form, and hopefully your healer can help you through things. But Renewal is now, you know, might be on the radar. Not saying it will be, but might be. PV wise and things like that, it could also be used there to try and tank through like some nasty ability that a boss has. Okay, now down into the Feral. The damage done by most Feral abilities has now been increased by 8% flat. It says most Feral abilities. I'm assuming that includes the main ones: Rake, Shred, Rip. That's all we really care about there. Obviously the other ones are nice, maybe Moonfire and things like that, but you have to spec into Luna, the Luna ability, so maybe not 8% increased damage on that. Not that it really does anything crazy, like Rip's where our main damage is, but interesting. Flat 8% increased damage when they just nerfed this last patch by 20% on Rake, if everyone remembers that. By 20%, that's a big nerf. And now we just got a buff. So, interesting. That's going to be nice. Brutal Slash now has a 12-second recharge. Was 18 seconds. Right now, and then including the next one, like Loon's Guidance, now has a duration of 8 seconds. Now, Loon's Guidance is the one, I'm pretty sure, that gives you back the combo points quickly. Okay, so all of a sudden, to me, I'm thinking, are they trying to bring back the bursty WOD setup feral? Where the Incarn burst is just like an assassination rogue setup. You know what I mean? Ferocious Bites just landing, not really like an Affliction Warlock. But are they trying to make the burst cat viable? I don't know. Especially then. Incarnation now reduces energy costs by 60%, increased by 10% because it was only 50. As well as our artifact weapon gives us a 15% increased damage when Incarn's up, and now they're letting us spam abilities out a bit more. Pair it with Zealotoo, I don't know, man. Interesting. I mean, it might not be the best, okay? Even if we can spec two different ways. You can set Blood Talons more of a bleed everyone to death, or if you can spec into like a Loon Guidance, Brutal Slash, just literally try and 100-0 someone as quick as possible. It could be nice to have that kind of chance to play comps differently. So right now, Shadow Priest and Affliction Warlock seem to be the best in 3s anyway for a Feral Druid to play with, right? Just bleed everyone to death. But give them a bursty spec like this. Is a Warrior going to be real handy to have in there too? Are you going to play with a Rogue? Squishy comp, yeah. I mean, two squishy characters, the Feral and the Rogue, but nasty setup if they can run a burst setup like 100-0, like Brutal Slashes, because they're nasty. Brutal Slash, if no one's used it, hits like a truck if you pair that with Incarn. So now quicker recharge, going to be getting more of them out. Interested to see how this plays out, and I do have to say that I haven't actually tried this on the live servers yet. I think they're in. I read somewhere it said the 10th, and right now it's the 11th in Australia, so it actually might be in. It's Wednesday. They normally patched last night. Moving on, because we talked a little bit too there. Infected Wounds now reduces movement speed by 30%. Was 50. Not too much of a pain. I feel like we're still with our speed buff. Going to be able to stay on people fine. But obviously 50% would be much more in our favor because no one can move at half speed. Infected Wounds, Rake. Yeah, is the Rake debuff. Okay, which is always up pretty much. So they're not going to be quite as slow. Yeah, whatever. Okay, Maim, damage increased by 75%. Nothing really important about that because Maim is what you use if you really just briefly need to stun, I feel like. If you have to stun, like damage isn't really required on that person. Maybe you really need to land a kill real quick. You know, and you have the stun DR available to some sort, so a little bit of extra damage on there. That's nice. Moment of Clarity now increases damage of affected spells by 15%. Now, Moment of Clarity only used to... Here, you can read it. Moment of Clarity now affects the next 3 cat form abilities and gives you a bit more energy. So, by affecting... I'm pretty sure, you can correct me on things down below, but from what I remember, it just gave you the abilities for free. It lets you hit your shred, rip maybe for free. It just cost no energy, so it was really good because you didn't really energy starve. But now it's also, when it procs, going to give you increased damage, so it just comes back to it. The Brutal Slash, Incarnation, Loon Guidance, and Moment of Clarity, are they on the same tier? Maybe, but either way, might have some choices there. Razor Fangs now increases the damage but dealt by rip by 4% per point. Was 7%. Now that is a nerf. What is Razor Fangs though? Is that one of the debuffs we have? It increases damage dealt by rip by 4%. Or is it one of the things was 7? I can't really remember what that is. That could be crucial though, because rip's our main damage dealer. That's nearly half the increased damage. Okay, but I mean, still pretty low variables there. Not going to be anything crazy. And Soul of the Forest now grants 15 energy per combo point. Now, Suchi, one of the best feral in the world, really likes to run that with the Blood Talons bleed spec setup because he's just always hitting, always using abilities. Because every time he lands a rip or a ferocious bite, bang, back to nearly max energy, and can just constantly bleed everyone to death without any downtime. So that's just going to be even better in his favor if he wants to run that. And that's pretty much it. Just more Guardian and Restoration changes there. So what we'll do now is move across and talk about the honor talents to finish up this video, because this is where I feel like it gets really interesting. Some of these are going to have quite an effect on the PvP gameplay, I feel like. So, and we'll set up like a makeshift kind of setup here. This is what I would do from what I've read. But keep in mind, I haven't played yet. Things could be different, but just from what I read, we'll try and set up something or somewhat similar to what we'll be running. So, first up, I like to run Adaptation. Now, that's more of a 2v2 mindset I go for. I do like 2v2, but Adaptation just means I can have more uptime, which means more damage overall, especially right now with the bleed spec. Gladiator's Medallion is obviously very important because you can use it whenever and save yourself from getting killed or save your mate from getting killed. But Adaptation, I like to use in 2v2 because cannot occur more than one time every 1 minute. Meanwhile, this is a 2-minute cooldown. So you see, over a long 2v2 game, Adaptation is going to give you a lot more uptime and just instantly trinkets a long type of CC. So there's that. Sparring is the next one because these two haven't changed, and melee is where you're going to have most of your drama. Obviously, remember to change this if you're up against casters, like a god comp or something. Then we have some changes. This tier here, some big changes in my opinion. So we'll start from left. Tooth and Claw. Maximum health while in bear form increased by 15%. Pretty big. Pretty big. And bear form, of course, you can change to whenever you want. So when you get switched on, 15% increased health straight away. So obviously a bit more tanky now because ferals do get targeted a lot, because when they go into bear form, you can't do damage. So there's just a pretty solid choice to go for to try and kill. Because when they're in cat form, we only have our 2 survival instincts. You get the deer, wear leather. We can just get chunks of our life taken out of us very quickly. So that's going to be interesting. And then also, damage while in bear form increased by 30%. Now, does this buff here, the 30%, is what I'm asking myself, does it affect our dots already on targets? Because that would be really handy. That's going to limit the amount people want to just train us to the ground. Because say you've got dots up on a demon hunter or something, right? And he's just on you. And straight away you shape to bear because he's about to metamorphosis burst on you or whatever, about to lay out some damage. Bang, you get max health, and then the 30% increased damage. Now, are those dots on him gonna tick 30% harder? Because really he doesn't want to go you then if he can go for something else. Maybe you play that Assassination Rogue Feral bursty setup, run Tooth and Claw. He's not going to want to go you, so that's interesting. Then we're just free to go and, you know, do what we do and rip people to shreds. But maybe not. Maybe it's only the abilities increased by 30% that you have in bear form once you go into it. Just like Enraged Maul that you would have. Maul the target for 500% physical damage. Not going to be a lot. 500% physical damage sounds like a lot, but just remember, like, how hard is a Guardian Druid going to hit? Pretty much you're going to play Guardian there, and you got one ability. Protector of the Grove has not changed. Obviously, the solid setup right now because you can save your friends. Literally, like, at clutch situations where doing damage isn't really going to save anyone, and you need to go healer for about 5 seconds, 5 or 6 casts. Maybe 4, depends how long it takes the mana burn, I can't really remember. But that is the go-to because you can actually save people. But even more so is now we have to choose between Tooth and Claw and Protector of the Grove. How good is Tooth and Claw? We're going to have to find out. I think we'll just try it out ourselves. Maybe if it's super good. Actually, if it is super good, I'm going to bring a video out on it. Absolutely. But Thorns is now in here. That is a Resto Druid ability. Okay, you put it on your teammate. And when they get attacked by melee, it just automatically damages the enemy. Okay, so Sprout Thorns for 12 seconds on the target. When the victim to melee attacks, Thorns deal 5% nature damage to their total health. So that's not, it's not like, it's just baseline percentage of their health and 45 seconds cooldown. Obviously 12% of base mana will regen. Hopefully it's not going to affect, or you're not going to have to worry about spam healing people. You're not going to have protector. So what am I saying? But Thorns, interesting. Could be cool to play with. I've seen it kill people before. Actually, when they've put it on people, it can get the killing blow, because it still does that 5% health, no matter how much health they have at that stage, because it's total health. But for now, I feel like Protector is just such a good. What does this ad block keep coming up for? Protector is such a good choice because it's so. You can do so much with it. You can heal your healer, you can heal your mate, and if you're playing 3v3, but maybe in 2v2, I feel like it's gonna be maybe Thorns, maybe 2. What is this? Do you want ad block to hide targeted messages? Yes, piss off. Okay. Now, again, another kind of interesting line. Savage Momentum. That used to be on the bottom, right? Interrupting a spell resets Tiger's Fury. Pretty handy. Tiger's Fury, 15% extra damage. Freedom of the Herd, not that good. Stampeding Roar clears all roots and snares from yourself and allies. May be useful against that real nasty Frost Mage Destro Lock setup where you're always rooted and you're getting one shot by Chaos Bolts and Glacials. But I feel like this one is going to be my go-to, because I seen this when they first announced the patch notes. I'm like, wow, that sounds cool. Okay, so Malorn Swiftness. Your travel, form, movement speed while within a battleground or arena is increased by 20%. So if we need to get away from stuff, bang, straight into travel form, aka Moose Boy, Swolabear, and also you always move at 100% movement speed while in travel form. I'm sorry for everyone that has to verse us in a 2v2 now, because even though we used to be able to shapeshift out of slows and stuff, now you can just not stop us from getting away if we have this ability. And which I think I will, because, you know, you're not always going to be versing casters, let alone be focusing on interrupting to get damage buffs. Normally I interrupt to, you know, set up kills and things like that, and strategically try and use my kicks when I can. Freedom of the Herd, whatever, not a fan. Malorn Swiftness though, can never be slowed above 100%, like cannot be slowed, and you move quicker. So, going to be keen. And if you're running Wild Charge, because the Splacer Beast just got nerfed, keep in mind, Wild Charge, if you're in Moose form, boosts you forwards. So 20% increased movement speed, you can boost yourself forwards with Wild Charge, and you cannot be slowed. So that is going to be such a pain in the ass for people trying to catch us, because we're going to be nearly dead, sprint off around the pillar. You know the deal how the Druid does it, and just heals back up. So that's probably the setup I'm going to go for right there. Not Tooth and Claw, Protector. That's what I meant to be there. Then we have King of the Jungle. 4% increased damage, stacks 3 times. We're used to that. Earthen Grasp. Entangling Roots is no longer dispellable. Reduces the target's chance to hit by 80%, but now has a 10-second cooldown. Could be nasty. Could really be nasty. Now this is, I feel like it's a high skill cap ability. And what I mean there, okay? Entangling Roots can't be dispelled. So if they're setting up a kill and you're versing a warrior or a DK or a melee or something that has to be on you, right? Or even a mage or something that you can, they can blink out of it maybe. Shimmer maybe. But yeah, something that is about to kill you, you root them and their healer cannot dispel it. Now, they're probably going to attempt to dispel it because that's what they're used to, and bang, they wasted their cleanse because the root still stays on, okay? It's probably going to confuse them initially when this patch first comes out, but that can be crucial there because you can literally get away around that pillar. Just that line of sight for that second can stop kills being landed. If you agree or not, I feel like that's a solid kind of statement there. But it also reduces the target's chance to hit by 80%. Now that sounds like it's just the initial attack afterwards. So a really top end player is obviously not going to use a big ability they're gonna waste it on, if it's a Frost DK, they'll probably hit Howling Blast or something, right? To get rid of that debuff. But for anyone else, for any other DK, he's gonna run at you and just start slamming Obliterate, and that first one is just gonna miss. Chance to hit by 80% reduction. Just gonna miss. He just wasted a rune, wasted what, 50k damage, like instant. So that's a really nice pair up and only 10-second cooldown. Problem is, Taming the Roots, you either have to cast or use a proc into, which won't be bad if you're running that new Incarn Bursty spec. If it's good, keep in mind if it's good, because then you won't have to focus on using your proc into the heal for the Blood Talons buff. I hope that makes sense to you, because Blood Talons, you know, you use a regrowth proc, and or whenever you cast a regrowth, then you get 50% increased damage on your next 2 melee abilities. Okay, but if you were to be running Earth and Grasp, and you're using that on Roots a lot, because this new ability is so cool, you're not getting the damage buff, so all of a sudden Blood Talons setup isn't going to work with that, I don't think. But this one could be good if you want that bursty spec. But the middle one, Enraged Maim, really stuck out to me. So, you deal 600% physical damage with Maim. Now, I only believe it was like a 100%, 200% maybe. Not entirely sure. I believe that is a buff. And incaps them again for 6 seconds like the previous PvP talent. So we have another form of CC there. As long as it doesn't DR with your teammates that might have an incapacitate, that means we have Bash, we have our Roots as a form of CC, but they will be able to be dispelled because we wouldn't be running Earth and Grasp. And you can also have that third line of CC as a main, as an incapacitate. So I'm interested to see how this plays out. But it's just a slight damage buff to what it already was, and King of the Jungle overall, just the increased speed and a little bit of extra damage if you have rip up on multiple targets. Just at the end of the day, I think it's still going to be the go-to. It's just passive, you don't have to do anything. Unless, like I said, an incapacitate chain CC setup is going to be really, really nice for you and not going to DR with anyone, which you can with healers and things like that. It could be good. That could be good too. So again, I feel like Tooth and Claw, Protector of the Grove, Thorns line, and this one could be hard to choose. And that is a very, very good thing when you have choices to go with, you know? It's not going to be always the same bland experience. Then the bottom one, Fresh Wound. Rake has a 60% increased critical strike chance if used on a target that already doesn't have Rake active. Now that critical strike chance isn't, I feel like I should point out, isn't for damage wise abilities, okay? Increased critical strike chance. I remember I mentioned it in a video and people were like, you know, it's not that good. 6% increased critical strike. Even though if it did crit, the Rake's going to do more damage. But it's the fact that when it does crit, it gives you 2 combo points, not 1. So that's just more uptime on your abilities. Instead of having to waste time on shreds, you're getting those rips off, switching targets that little bit quicker. And that's where it becomes really good. So Fresh Wound is what I run these days. But we also have a new one. Another really, really nice one. And I don't think I might be running Fresh Wound anymore, but we're going to leave the middle one to last. Rip and Tear, as always, instantly applies Rake and Rip to the target. Pretty cool. Not that good because, you know, building up your bleeds onto someone gives you the combo points. And including if you're running Lunar Strike setup, you get a combo point for that anyway, which you need to keep up. So even if you did get the Rip and Tear off onto someone, you still need to attack them, get your Moonfire up, and then switch target. Ferocious Wound. Attacking with a 5 combo point Ferocious Bite reduces the target's maximum health by 25%. You hit them with a Ferocious Wound, hit them with a Ferocious Bite, which you always want to do with 5 point. There's no reason to not do it really, unless you need to guarantee a kill or something, to use it with any less than max 5 points. Okay? So when you Ferocious Bite, we'll just simplify, you're going to reduce their health by a quarter. If they have 2 mil health baseline, you just took away 500,000 by putting a Ferocious Bite onto them. and it lasts 20 seconds. So you're coming up against a assassination rogue, for instance, that normally has 2 mil health, but now he has baseline 1.5 mil health because you're running this ability. Ferocious Wound can only be active on one target at once. So this is gonna be super nice just in general. But coming back to it again, what I feel like Blizzard are trying to do is give us that option, because I haven't touched the Blood Talon setup. There's no nerfs and changes in that to it really much at all. So obviously the bleed spec, make everyone die, is still going to be viable, which is great if you like doing it. But sometimes you might want to run a bursty setup, and if you're ferocious wounding people, reducing their health by 25%, spec'd into brutal slash, and like a Loon's Guidance or Moment of Clarity that's giving you these free hits with 15% extra damage when it procs. You got Incarn up, 15% extra damage, you know, smash out Asmon's Frenzy and things like that. Like, is the burst spec back? That's what I want you to tell me down in the comments below, because this 27-minute commentary, I'll have to edit a little bit, is coming to an end, because I think we covered everything to do with Feral. I really felt like, I don't know, I feel like this was more chilled out than a lot of other discussion videos that I've done, or even that other people do. Because I don't know, it was really good to talk about and brainstorm about this burst spec and kind of how things are going to play out. Like, we have a lot of choices now, which I'm really intrigued about. So thanks for watching, everyone. Be sure to like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments what you think. I'm going to discuss with you. And maybe you've even tried this out yourself. Tell me how it goes, what setup you think is going to be the go-to now. Is the burst spec back? I'm really keen to wait and see. So I will see you guys next time.